snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys! So I am here today to do a joint book review. I have two books that I gave similar ratings to, but they are very, very different. So let's get started. The first one that I'm going to talk about is one that I was sent for review. This is a YA story. It is called Rebel of the Sands and it's by Alwyn Hamilton, and I was very kindly sent this by favour in exchange for an honest review. So let's get started with that review. This is a YA, it's set in the desert. That in itself was interesting to me. I think you'll all agree that this has a beautiful cover. It's got a kind of Arabian Nights feel to it, and that definitely comes through in the story as well. I really enjoyed this, much more than I was expecting to. I read through this really, really quickly and it was a lot of fun. Definitely think that YA is something I have been enjoying more when I've been pickier. I've definitely become way more picky with what I decide to accept or buy in future with YA, and I think it's helped a lot because it means that I'm finding stuff that I do actually like rather than stuff that irritates me. This story focuses on a girl called Amani, and she is basically part of this tribe or community within the desert. She isn't particularly happy there. She wants to get away and she doesn't really feel like she fits into her community because she lives with her uncle, I think it is, and she doesn't feel like she fits right there. She feels as though he's going to be horrible to her and end up marrying her and abusing her and being really rather nasty, so she decides she needs to escape. And so one night she dresses up and goes to this shooting tournament and she tries to win the money to leave the area that she grew up in. While she's there, she meets a rather mysterious character who ends up with her involved in some trouble, and eventually the two of them meet again and embark on a strange, crazy long journey. So this was very filled with adventure. It was very filled with action-packed, intense adventure that happened quite quickly. The plot moves along at a rip-roaring pace. You're never left in sort of a lurch. You're never left in a moment where you're thinking, God, this is boring, hurry up. You're always thinking, God, this is intense. What's going to happen next? How is she going to get out of this situation? How are they going to get out of this situation? And the magic within this was really interesting as well. It's something that doesn't come in until a bit later in this story. This one definitely feels like more of a setup than it does a complete story, because we know by the end of this that there's a lot more to come, and it is the first one in a series, so that makes sense. I feel like this actually did focus a little bit more on the romance than I would have liked, but I still don't think that the romance took over this story, which was nice because I do think that's something I really don't like in YA. I do think this is a good adventure story. If you're looking for something that's fun, that has some great fun characters, nothing too deep, nothing to emotionally connect you too much, but something that's fun, something that's exciting, something that's definitely going to keep you entertained, this is definitely that. I do feel like I had a few criticisms in terms of the romance a little bit taking over and the characters not being as developed as I'd like, but seeing as this is the first one in a series, I do think it can evolve to a point where maybe the characters do get more depth filled in, or we do get less of a romance plot and more of a adventure, excitement, mystery plot that might come in the later books. We'll have to see. I definitely would be up for reading the second book because it was fun. It didn't take me long to get through, and I like that it's kind of an alternate setting, not necessarily medieval castles as a lot of fantasy is. I would love to hear your thoughts if you guys have read this. I do believe it's now out, and so you can pick this up if you want to, and I think it's one that I will probably continue the series for because it was very, very likeable. I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I would say that this kind of reminds me a little bit of if 12 Kings by Bradley Beaulieu and The Painted Man by Peter V. Brett and The Reckoners series by Sanderson all kind of squished together to make a YA book. That's what I kind of feel like this is. If you like any of them, you might want to pick this one up. The next one that I have to review is The Man in the High Castle, which is by Philip K. Dick. Now this is a classic. It is, I suppose, a science fiction dystopian classic, and it's one that I hadn't actually got to before. In fact, it was my first ever Philip K. Dick, so that was pretty cool. I picked this one up because I wanted to watch the TV show, but I ended up doing this as a buddy read with a couple of other people. Ottavio, Jean, Chelsea, Elizabeth, and a few others I think, so I'll link all their channels below. And we had a great time talking about this. It's a really interesting book, and it definitely is dark. It's twisted it's messed up. It's set in a world where the Nazis and the Japanese have taken over. The World War was not as it is in history. In fact, the Japanese and the Nazis took over everything, and now America is divided in half of it ruled by the Japanese and half of it ruled by the Nazis, and there's a lot of mayhem and chaos in this world. It is very regimented. It is very, very difficult and different to what we know our world is. America has become a very dark place, a very cynical place, a place where a lot of death happens regularly, a lot of prejudice is ever present, and it really is quite unsettling when you think about how things could have turned out, because this is dark. It is dark in places and it makes you feel uncomfortable. Philip K. Dick has a way of writing that feels a little bit like he's trying to be intentionally disturbing. He's trying to intentionally make you feel uncomfortable, and I think that's exactly what he is doing. The book focuses on quite a few different characters who have different backgrounds. We focus on a Jew in hiding, and we focus on some people who are in power. We focus on a shopkeeper, and we focus on some of the Japanese people that he sells to or is trying to sell to. It talks about some of the American products that he's trying to sell as memorabilia to them, and it's a very odd concept. This book also has a really interesting focus on the I Ching, which is a sort of ancient tool of divination that I believe the Japanese use, and possibly the Chinese as well, I'm not entirely sure. And it's a real thing that happens in our modern world, and people actually use this tool, and Philip K. Dick actually used the I Ching to write this book. Now, the I Ching can be very odd in the way it responds to questions that people ask. It can be very vague, it can be very unhelpful, and many of the characters within the book find that it is unhelpful. It's an unhelpful tool, but it gives them some sort of guidance, so they still follow it and they still trust it and they believe in it, and it's part of the culture that has taken over, so people trust this thing. Philip K. Dick obviously had other plans for this series. There is supposed to have been a sequel, but he never actually wrote it. And this book was largely dictated by the I Ching, which is why sometimes it feels a little bit incomplete. It doesn't necessarily feel like all of the threads are tied up at the end, and it doesn't necessarily feel like Philip K. Dick knew what was going to happen with this, and I don't think he really did, which isn't a bad thing, because this intrigued me, got under my skin, and it made me wonder, and it made me think about what it would be like if this was our world today. And it was dark and it was scary and I didn't like it, but it was good to think about and it was good to discuss with other people as well. It's intense. It was my first Philip K. Dick, and it's quite a short book, but it really is one of those books that stays with you a little bit and stays haunting you, because it's so twisted and so alien to what we have, and yeah, it could have been our future if things had just gone differently. It's one that I definitely am glad I read, and it's definitely given me a passion for wanting to read more of Philip K. Dick's work, because I think he's a good writer, and I enjoyed that his style was something I liked and was something I found really intriguing, even though it is a messed up subject that he's dealing with, and it's not nice to envision it. I think it makes you think, and it makes you question, and it makes you wonder, and it makes you feel grateful for what you do have. I then went and watched the first episode of the TV show on Amazon, which is, again, as I say, that's why I picked this up, and I really liked that as well, so I'm sure that I will continue with the TV show, although it is somewhat different and they have changed some things. I do think that the TV show is good. So if you guys have any thoughts on this one and you want to leave them below, I'd more than be happy to chat to you about them, because it is one I think is worth discussing. Also, if you have any other recommendations of where to go next with Philip K. Dick, then do let me know down below. I think maybe the Android's Dream of an Electric Sheep one I might go for next, because I've heard good things about that, but if you guys have any particular recommendations that you think I would enjoy, then leave them below and I will check out your comments as well. That is everything that I have for you today. Let me know your thoughts on both of these two books that I have just reviewed for you, and let me know if you're going to be picking up either of them. I gave both of these a 3.5 out of 5 stars, but for such different reasons. This one was fun, it was exciting, it was about endurance, it was about excitement, action, intense fun. And this one played on my brain, it got under my skin, it was twisted, it was nasty, it was something that made me think. But I liked both of them for very different reasons. So let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all again soon in another video. Bye!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick then come back and chat with me again.